Hi there, everybody. So, welcome to this short little session that I'm going to do on the science of reading. The reason why I've decided to do this is because I have been inundated by teachers who have contacted me and said, please, can you talk to parents, those parents who are trying to teach their children to read before they start school. There are all kinds of issues why reading should happen in stages, and I thought, let me just address this now, and I'm sure we'll have more conversations about it as we go along. But I thought I want to talk about when is too early to teach children to read, because one thing I've realized is that learning to read is a milestone. Just like learning to ride a bicycle or learning to speak. Children, it happens in stages. A child doesn't all of a sudden learn to speak. They have to first hear language and understand language, and then make sounds, and then those sounds become little words, and then those words become spoken language, and then they are able to speak. And it's the same with reading. And I think we just need to understand that children who are taught to read too early, there are gaps that develop, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more, but let's just talk a little bit about the science of reading. So the science of reading is decades of research, right? Decades of research that looks at reading instruction and the best way of teaching children to read and what should be included in that instruction. So, the simple view of learning to read is that reading is as a result of word recognition, comprehension, and then when you read, you have to comprehend what you're reading. So it's really just a matter of decoding. Your language comprehension becomes reading comprehension, which it's a simple view, because Scarborough's rope, and again, Scarborough's rope, what's Scarborough's rope? So Scarborough's rope, again, is a theory that talks about, yes, you can have decoding and you can have language comprehension, but those are even broken down even more into different components. So Scarborough's rope, if you look at the picture, you'll see these different strands. Each strand is a different aspect of language. So you've got the word recognition and you've got language comprehension, and language comprehension is divided into 5 components, and word recognition is divided into 3 different components. So I'm not going to go into depth of each of those right now, but what I do want to say is that when you look at a child's language comprehension, that is based on the child's vocabulary, their previous knowledge, their ability to infer and give their own opinion, their higher order thinking. So, it's their use of grammar, it's their verbal reasoning, it's their the vocabulary that they are building up over time. So it's very, again, it's based on lots of different things. And so language comprehension, language comprehension is as a result of their language development and higher order thinking, or their verbal reasoning, and it becomes more strategic as they get older. And if we look at word recognition, which is the sight words and being able to recognize words on sight, again, word recognition is based on the letter sound relationship, phonemic awareness, spelling, yes, the sight word recognition, but it's all the other aspects as well. And as children build their language, build their vocab, their sight word recognition becomes more automatic. And so they read more fluently. There's comprehension when they're reading. There's expression. They know when to stop and when to pause. It's based on all of those things. So effective reading instruction, and this is something that parents must just be cognizant of. It's not about just teaching your child to read words and being proud because your child can read lots of words on sight. So you flash words and they read and they know the words. It's like saying, oh, my child can count up to 20. My child's 2, but they can count up to 20. That's great. They've learned how to count. But do they know what each number represents? Do they know quantity? Do they understand concepts that go along with knowing their numbers up to 20? Probably not. So if you're teaching your child to read by just recognizing words on sight, they will just develop a rote word bank of those words. So they read parrot fashion, they won't be able to read with too much expression, they might not read with comprehension, their fluency might be a bit off because they sort of just see words as isolated concepts and not as part of a whole sentence. And often what we see is a hyperlexia type of child where they might seem to be reading very advanced, but they don't understand what they are reading. And those higher order thinking skills are not really coming in there. So just to be aware, moms and dads, is rather expose your children to books. For sure, read them stories. Read stories, talk about stories, let them answer questions about the story. Talk about what is going to happen in the next chapter, or what do you think about this? Talk about the things that are not obvious and not in the text, that cannot be found in the text. Encourage them to think beyond the text and to think and to read between the lines, if that makes sense. So it's not about, yes, I can teach my child to read so that by the time she gets to school or he gets to school, he can already read. There are issues with that. And we realize that reading requires different components to be there, so that when you build onto those foundations, you have a solid, strong foundation that reading is built on. So just be aware of rather exposing your children to different types of books, different types of reading, and not be so keen to make sure that they know how to read by the time they get to school. That's what teachers are, and proper reading instruction is there. And I just want to appeal to the parents about that. If you are concerned about your child's reading and you do want to possibly have a look at getting a reading assessment done, please come and chat to me, because we do reading assessments, we do academic assessments at Education Services. We can look at your child's reading ability. We can do a really good evaluation comparing, their cognitive age. Is their cognitive age in line with their reading age, or are there gaps? Is there a developmental gap there that we can possibly fill with a bit of reading instruction, proper reading instruction? So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, the science of reading. We will delve into this a little bit more as we go along in June. The theme is always has to do with reading and reading comprehension. So stay tuned, have a listen to the next series coming up. And let us know if there are any questions, or if you have any concerns about your child's reading. Please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you, teachers, for all your comments being sent in. I really, really appreciate it. It's nice to know that you're out there as well listening. Otherwise, have a great day further. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.